Community Board 1 Queens Parks Recreation and Cultural Committee meeting of October 6th. This meeting has a number of items on the agenda. Briefly, the first is a discussion on winterizing the tennis bubble. At that point, then we will have a discussion on a farmer's market in the area. Third discussion will be on the baby park and the expansion of the green facilities. This is by Queensbridge. And lastly, we will be going over our budget priorities for the coming year. I'd like to start with attendance. When I call your name, could you please advise whether you're here? Michelle Amour.
Here.
Christian Batras. No. Okay. Kian Betancourt.
Here.
Amy Howe.
Here.
Richard Kazami, I'm here. And Angie McCormick.
Here.
Juliet Payabyab.
Here.
Ryan Van Menon.
I'm here.
And Mario Vergara.
Here.
Okay, good. We have full attendance. It's great. Okay.
Richard, did we have Christian? Sorry, I was trying to log that.
Christian's the only one that's one
Okay.
we. Okay, yeah, right. But listen, thanks guys for attending this. It's very important. We really appreciate that you are joining us for this initial committee meeting of this fiscal year. So to start, I'd like to find out who will be actually presenting on the winterization of the tennis facility in Astoria Park.
Alexander.
Hi, Florence. Thank you so much. And nice to meet you finally in person, or at least on video.
Yeah. Alex, pleasure to meet you too. And are you with concessions or are you with, or what's your title with the park?
Yes, my name is Alexander Hahn. I'm Chief of Concessions for New York City Parks.
Okay, good. All right. Yeah, do you have any graphics or any kind of a presentation that you want to share?
There are no there's no presentation for us to share. This is really initial meeting just to start the discussion. Just want to say that in recent years we received interest from local residents and folks around the community with an interest in having a wintertime or a year-round activity, and there seems to be interest in continuing that at the tennis courts here. So what would be required as in accordance with the city's rules is that we would be required to issue a competitive RFP, a request for proposals, seeking an operator to operate a tennis concession that would include developing and installing some type of enclosure for wintertime use and programming during the indoor season.
Okay, and I'm assuming we're looking at some sort of a tennis bubble?
The traditional enclosure is a bubble, though there are other types of enclosures that can be considered, including a tensile structure, which would not require the same amount of equipment as a bubble would in terms of air handling, keeping the bubble up, and we feel that that's more environmentally friendly. And then with the enclosures, there's also more efficient ways to enclose and open the facility during the warmer months, and then also when the indoor season is about to begin. There would be HVAC, cooling and heating equipment that would be involved in any type of enclosure. So we don't know what type of enclosure that would go in there yet. I mean, that would be the result of us issuing an RFP, and we're not at that stage as of yet. But we wanted to engage with you all and find out if there is interest or support from the community board, any feedback that you all might have for us.
All right, thank you. just not only for your sake, but also to education of the new members, because I don't know that any members currently on the committee were here for this, but we had a similar scenario, I'd say 25 years ago. It was very contentious. It was about putting a bubble in, and eventually, as is obvious, it never did go in. The issues at that point, and they still are, I think, pertinent issues, was number one, there was concern that the bubble at that point, even though we were told that it would come down every summer season, there was concern that in fact it would not, that they would find 100 excuses not to take it down. These facilities tend to get very dirty and stuff like that. And there was also concern over loss of trees. I think that in general, I don't think anybody was against winter use of the tennis courts. I think that's really a positive thing, but it has to be done with a responsible developer or contractor that's going to meet his commitments and make sure that we have an open tennis courts in the summertime and we don't lose trees. So that's from my personal standpoint. I'd like to ask other committee members if they have any questions along these lines. And also one other thing too that came up was the environmental side, because if you do a bubble, then obviously you have to keep the compressors running and everything like that, which that's also a big issue. I'd like to know more about these alternative facilities that you're talking about. I really don't know anything about them. I think that would be an important part of the presentation, maybe before you proceed. But any other board members have any questions in regards to this? Kian.
This is just honestly a general question, but it may be stupid, but can go to either of you. What is generally the benefit of having a bubble as opposed to just keeping the tennis court open year round? Obviously, there's snow and stuff on the ground, but that's been happening less and less, or at the very least, it's usable later in the season. So why not just keep it open for the general public when there's no snow to use, as opposed to building the bubble?
Well, we can, and that's the way the courts have been without the bubble, and that's certainly an option to do nothing. But the benefit of having a bubble would allow, or some type of enclosure. And I understand, and Richard, I'm with you in terms of environmental concerns, but there are benefits to having some type of enclosure that would allow folks to play during inclement weather, whether it be very rainy, not just the snow, very sunny days. If there is a certain type of enclosure that would allow for some sort of a shade during those types of rainy and sunny days, in addition to being enclosed during the colder months.
Would it ever be enclosed during the summer months on particularly hot days? Or your point is that it would be taken down every summer?
Right. The point is that the sides, at least the sides, would come down depending on the enclosure. If it were
Okay.
if it were the an inflatable air structure, the bubble that Richard was describing, the only way to take the top down is to take the whole thing down. So if it were a bubble option, there would not be any shade, more than likely. But if there were some type of other, and Richard, the concept is basically a frame and then a fabric that would cover the top of the frame and along the sides. So it's not, it's just a very large tent. Obviously, there's a lot more infrastructure that goes into it, but it's that kind of concept in lieu of a bubble.
It's a tent with heating in it, and
That's correct.
okay. Well, any other questions from anybody else? Or Kian, do you have any more?
I do, but I'm happy to let others.
Go ahead. Nobody else has hand up yet.
Okay. Is there a model for this in the rest of the city? Is there anywhere else that has a bubble like this?
Well, we have bubbles all over the city, actually. In McCarran Park, we have a tennis bubble. Cunningham, Alley
okay.
Pond, Queensboro, Mill Pond. We're developing a new tennis concession in Staten Island at Willowbrook Park as well.
And have the concerns that Richard brought up, which it sounds like from however many years prior, sounds like they were related to the idea that we were worried about upkeep, that, come summertime, that whoever wins that RFP would not be taking it down. I'm assuming it would be their responsibility
That's
for
correct.
maintenance and upkeep. Right. So whatever private company that ends up being, I mean, have we had that issue with any of these other parks that are currently utilizing that system?
Well, the way the bubble works is that it comes down at the end of the season, and so it can't be dirty, before the start of the following season. It does need to be cleaned to the city's satisfaction, but by and large, our operators have done a really, spectacular job in terms of maintaining those bubbles. Some other, type of structure, like a tensile structure that I described, would involve a different type of cleaning process, but that's something that we can ask for proposals to, clarify for us, because we're, first I want to say Parks is not the expert in this type of business, and any type of enclosure would belong to the operator that's coming in, and they're the ones that are paying for it and putting it up and taking it down and paying for the maintenance and all of that stuff as well. And so we're relying on their expertise in the industry to show us proposals on how something like this could work in this particular park.
Would there be, oh, I'm sorry, Christina, yes.
Hey, good evening. I guess so. I have a few clarifying questions. Um, so this is for Athens Park for the basketball court that's behind the playground.
Oh, well, this is a different facility. We're talking about a tennis bubble in Astoria Park at the existing tennis courts. What you're talking about, I think, is the farmers market. We haven't got to that part of
Okay,
the
yeah, I was so confused because I just looked
Okay.
at the agenda and I thought that was the first
Yeah,
item. We were just
this is
thank
a
you for
recent addition to the agenda.
okay, thank you for that. And then my second one was so this would be like a little bubble for like a winter market or something for vendors.
No, this would be for year-round sports programming, which can include tennis. But during the winter months, you can also have an operator that wants to provide, other sports-related activities and amenities. They can do events, they could do programming, they could have padel, which is a new and growing sport. They can develop pickleball courts, and they can also continue tennis. At our tennis bubble at Bensonhurst Park during the indoor season, they actually turn one of the tennis courts into a multi-purpose turf field, and then they're able to play soccer, like little league for kids. And then during the outdoor season, they convert that field back into a tennis court. So you can have a lot of different options and a lot of different other sports that you can play during the winter months, and it does not have to be strictly tennis, provided that once the bubble does come down, that the tennis courts will be restored and available for parks permit users.
I think that's great. And then I guess my last question will be, have you, is there any past partnerships with LIC High School for their football court? I mean, football field to do that kind of bubble?
I'm not familiar with the school, and I don't think I've seen a proposal for other fields, but we're definitely open to doing these types of multi-sport enclosures that would encourage folks and kids in the neighborhood to use them during the colder months.
Yeah, no, I think
Especially
that's
when,
brilliant.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
One other thing that is worth considering is, as part of the concession, we could also ask for other improvements. One of the requests from a local resident who was advocating that parks consider this type of enclosure is that maybe there's an option here that we can ask our concessionaire to install lights at the tennis courts so that folks can use them during the outdoor season for later in the day, because right now my understanding is there are no lights. And the example is in McCarran Park, the tennis courts, the outdoor lights during the outdoor season were actually installed by the concessionaire that operates the indoor bubble. And so we can ask for improvements like lighting. We can ask for annual resurfacing of the courts, and that'll be all paid for and maintained and managed by whoever the concessionaire might be.
Okay. Christina, that's any more questions?
No, thank you so much.
Okay, Ryan.
Hello, thanks for the presentation, Alexander. I just wanted to ask, as a private operator, would the operator then be free to charge more for use of the tennis courts and for other activities? And in your experience with McCarran Park, for example, did it increase the price for residents to use this space as opposed to if it was just an outdoor unenclosed space?
So at McCarran, for example, during the outdoor season, the courts are available for parks permit holders. So whatever the fee is that you would normally pay the city, you would use your parks permit to play. During the indoor season under the bubble, the concessionaire charges the rates, but all the rates are subject to Parks' final approval.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, one question that anybody else have a question?
I just wanted to react to that. I was under the assumption that it would be free and public because it's of public land. So that thank you for asking that question, Ryan.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, along those lines also, on the original proposal 25 years ago, they were going to provide free access to the Youth Tennis League of New York for the facility in the morning, and they were sort of sponsors of it. I don't know whether that would be a similar scenario here, but again, this access for all of our high schools and places like the Variety Boys and Girls Club, I think would be an important aspect of this. Now, will you be looking at covering all of tennis courts? We have a number of courts there. So, in terms of the courts that might still be free, if you don't cover the whole thing, you may still have some courts available.
You mean during the winter season, some courts would not be covered at all?
I'm wondering, I'm asking.
Well, I think, again, this is just our first conversation. The next step after we speak to you all would be for Parks to conduct a site visit, determine what's feasible. We'll need to understand the trees that are surrounding the courts. Obviously, we're the Parks Department, so the agency that cares about trees the most. And so if there's a way that we can make this type of concession feasible without having to remove or damage any trees is going to be a requirement of any analysis that we do. So more to come on that, but I think we'll need to study that before we issue the RFP as well.
Okay. One more thing too, I would hope, because again, my biggest issue has been how many of the bubbles that are currently operated within New York City are taken down every year? Because I've heard too many complaints where people said they were told they would come down, they never came down. And this concern is that any contract or anything would have to have a substantial penalty if somebody didn't bring it down,
So I can only speak to the bubbles that are on New York City Parks property. Every single bubble on Parks property comes down each year, with the exception of the bubble in Manhattan under the Queensboro Bridge, which was solicited as a year-round concession. So that is the only bubble that stays up year-round. All of our other tennis bubbles come down every year.
Okay. All right. Katie.
Hello. Sorry I was a little late. So maybe this was discussed at the top of this part of the session. To the two other points about, I guess, was there a conversation about how much it costs in general? To Christina's point, you need to be permitted. You have to buy a permit through Parks in order to be able to play at the Astoria Park tennis courts, unless you're part of the City Parks Foundation youth tennis in the summer. So do you have, Alexander, can you just run down the cost of applying for a permit for those that they may not know? And then Richard, I know you've been doing this and working around this or hearing about this for a very long time. I would just be interested to hear more or to have a review of some of the past concerns of neighbors of the park and community members about a tennis bubble. And then it seems my last point has to do with, shouldn't the feasibility of actually putting this there without damaging the tree canopy be done before this conversation happens? So people might be getting their hopes up for something that may not even happen. So shouldn't the site visit happen before you come to the community board to talk more about it, when there's potential of that it might not be possible to mitigate potential tree loss, limb loss, things like that?
Well, in our view, we can certainly put at least one bubble and enclose some of those courts. The question from Richard was exactly how many courts and what that might look like, and that needs to be further studied. But based on our initial review, we believe that there is an option here at these courts, and we believe that if we were to issue an RFP, there would be a feasible proposal, at least one, but probably multiple, to enclose these courts, especially since it had been reviewed before.
And then which courts would those be specifically? And again, I wasn't here at the top of this meeting.
Sure. Well, all tennis enclosures are site specific. These are all custom enclosures at every single park that we have them. So in terms of what type of structure would be and exactly how many it may take and how many courts we could include, could be enclosed out of the 14 that are there, is something that parks would need to look further into after this conversation.
Okay, and do you know why that is a confusing answer for me?
No,
When you're
I
saying
think
it's possible, but you're not
yes.
saying which parts are possible. So how do you know it's possible if you can't say which parts they are? It's a large space, so if at least
Sure.
a portion of it can be enclosed,
Yeah.
so you know in your mind, which parts would those be?
I don't have the court numbers, but typically an enclosure consists of anywhere between, 7 or 8 courts, and
No,
we
I
believe at
understand.
least 7
We
or
don't
8
need,
courts could be
that's
enclosed.
great. We don't need the
Okay.
numbers. Closer to the field house, closer to the track, closer to 21st Street, which
It could be
sections are
all
we
of them.
talking?
It could be all of them through either one or multiple enclosures. But if you'd like, Katie, I'm happy to get back to you after we do a site visit.
Yeah, I
and,
think it
and
would
let you
just
know.
be for us to visualize what this would look like. And obviously, you're not sure about the whole thing, just parts of it. And we don't need court, or at least I don't need court numbers to understand what the size and scope of this project could be. If we just
Okay.
say it's all of the front courts closer to the track, you're gonna leave off the ones near 21st Street. I mean, it's just for me specifically to be able to visualize the community to understand. A lot of people travel to those courts from all across the borough and the city. So I think there's obviously a desire to have it open year round. And my other question, can you speak to the cost of annual permitting for those that want to play tennis at Astoria Park and or other NYC parks tennis courts? Thank you.
So this concession during the outdoor season, the same price that folks pay for parks permits does not change, and the same process exists for playing during the outdoor season. What I had mentioned before was as part of the indoor season, when the concessionaire would manage those courts. That's done through an approval process. The concessionaire would submit a request to parks for prices that they want to charge, and we either approve them or get back to them with some other feedback. So without having proposals in hand on what folks believe they could charge at Astoria Park, what we can provide following this meeting is an example of indoor tennis rates that are charged at our other concessions.
Okay, and what would that be? So right now, I guess my question was specific and I thought you would have that answer as someone that works at parks. It's $100 for adults for the outdoor, and maybe it's the same for indoor, I don't know. Annually, it's an annual permit. Christina and
Okay.
anyone else that doesn't know, it's $20 for seniors. And it entitles you, and maybe you can speak to this more, but it gives you basically permission to use the space. I know a lot of people that do it. It is out of reach for others. There are other programs that allow free use and free tennis. But to your point, Christina, you do need to be permitted. And according to this, the price may fluctuate or change based on the operator.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, this is going out for an RFP. That RFP has to make, has to have income to cover its costs. So you know that in fact there is going to be a charge to utilize these facilities, or they would not even respond to the RFP. So and I'm not sure what the number's like. I'm not sure how it compares to the Randall's Island facility or whatever, or Roosevelt Island, which they're more private facilities if I'm not correct. But there will be a charge. There will be a surcharge. It has to be. So, and
So
that's part of the during the process, I'm wondering whether you would keep us informed and keep the council office informed about Number one, what kind of numbers we're looking at in terms of fees. And if we do feel that the fees are exorbitant, but it's not financially feasible without them, then there's a good chance we may say, forget about it. We don't want this to become some elitist facility that only certain people can use. Astoria Park is a community park that's well known, and it's one of its biggest strengths is the fact that people from all sorts of different backgrounds and ethnic backgrounds and everything all utilize this facility. You start closing off anything in there, I have a real problem with that. Even the pool's free, there's nothing is charged to anybody there. And I think you can't set a dangerous precedence with this. That's another issue that we had. Also, I think that it is very important to have a substantial penalty if in fact it does not come down at the prescribed time. And if that's the case, we would also like to have the ability to see what that penalty looks like and what that contract looks like. We would hope that we would have access to that too before everything's approved.
So the answer, Richard, is yes, but I thought I answered your other question about whether the bubbles come down at our other locations, and I answered that they do. The maximum penalty in all of our concession agreements is termination of the license by the city for that reason. Prior to signing any license agreement, the Parks Department is required to hold a public hearing, and the agreement that is to be signed is available to all members of the community board and elected officials in advance of that hearing.
Oh, perfect. Very good.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point,
I have a question.
Yes.
Where did
Who is
I'm
this?
sorry.
Oh,
It's
Christina.
Christina Chase. Where did this proposal come from? Who asked for it? And what if the community doesn't want it? Because I think it's so wild to propose public park space for private use and for money. I'm whoa. I think that's nuts. So I don't, and I'm sure there's a lot of community members that will also agree with me. So I want to know where this proposal came from, because I think everything Richard just said prior, I agree with wholeheartedly. That we must maintain our public park be publicly accessible. And if there's anything that has a charge to use for our public land, like that's the opposite of publicly accessible. And so it's mind-boggling to me. So I want to know where it came from.
So as I mentioned before, at the start of this, we have received in recent years requests from members in the community, and I don't think it matters who, because I'm just, I'm not making it up. There seems to be interest from tennis players at Astoria Park to have year-round use with an enclosure. Some activities in parks cost money. If you go eat at a restaurant in one of our parks, you have to pay the bill. If you go ice skating in our parks, you have to pay for admission and skate rentals. So there are certain activities and certain amenities that are fee-based. It's all about balance, and affordability is one of the preeminent things that we look at. The proposal is not to keep anyone out. I think to Richard's concern, that was not the intent. If the community hates it, then we hear you. Nobody's forcing this RFP down anyone's throat. We thought it was a nice idea, and there seemed to be interest from a local level. But if the community board is not interested, by and large, that's okay. That's okay.
Okay. Okay. Again, Astoria Park is a somewhat unique one. I know that there's also golf courses and other facilities here that do charge. I know that does exist. And, maybe there can be a level of affordability that would justify it, but I'm not sure at this point. It would have to be very affordable. So, anyways, any other questions?
Richard, I have a question. This is Phyllis.
Yes.
Hi, how are you? Thanks for the meeting. I came late, unfortunately, so I didn't hear the whole thing, but I was just wondering, did you address anything? What about if there's ice that falls, which has happened before, and it shears the bubble? Have you run into that situation?
Yes, our concessionaires, anytime it snows, The concessionaires that operate bubbles have, at all of the locations have a plan. They have staff that are typically working overnight, clearing the bubble of snow and other debris so that it does not collapse. Because again, it is their equipment. They own the bubbles. These bubbles cost millions of dollars in certain cases, and repairing them costs a lot of money as well, because you'll need to take the bubble down, deflate it, and then repair it, and then reinflate it, which all takes time and money. So a maintenance plan for inclement weather is a requirement of all of our license agreements. And to Richard's point, I can tell you that if we were to proceed with this RFP, we would prioritize free and low cost programming and use during the indoor season.
And I had another question. At times, there are things that have come off the Triborough Bridge and onto the courts, debris. What would happen? I don't know how strong that bubble is. It's something.
So when we at our bubbles at Mill Pond Park in the Bronx and under the Queensboro Bridge, that are both under, one is under the bridge, the one in the Bronx is under the Major Deegan. During periods of construction, the bubble has actually been an additional safety measure for anything and debris that may fall off as a result of any work that may be done. And so the bubble has not, as far as we know, and in cases, even of cases of construction, with construction debris falling off and onto the bubble, has not caused the bubble to tear or deflate or anything like that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
By the way, Phyllis is a member of the Astoria Park Alliance, so she's quite involved. And are there any questions from anyone else at this point? Okay, no, there's two things that I would like to suggest. Number one, I would love to see you guys come up with a graphic design of what a bubble would look like or this tent. I think that for us to make a good decision, we need to have a graphic or a model of some sort that we can get an idea of what we're looking at. So I would strongly suggest that you do that. And I also suggest that we have one more meeting, and possibly we do a meeting with the Astoria Park Alliance. They're the people that take care of the park, maintain it, do all the cleanups. They live and breathe that park, and they should be in this conversation. So I would hope that we could do maybe before you do the RFP out, we could do one more meeting and do it maybe as a shared meeting with the Astoria Park Alliance and the community board.
If the community board wants to meet again, I'm certainly happy to attend. Just let me know.
Okay, good. All right.
Richard, hi. I had another question. Phyllis again.
Yes, Phyllis.
Again, I wasn't at the beginning of the meeting. What about the mechanical part to this? Where would that be stationed? And what's the noise level?
So Phyllis, one of the positives about the advancement in technology is that we're open to consider different types of enclosures, and not just the traditional bubble that requires the mechanicals and the air handling equipment. We're also open, if it's feasible, to considering other types of enclosure structures like tensile structures that does not require any mechanical equipment like that or air handling equipment, because they're not inflating a bubble.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's no more questions, Alexander, we really thank you for coming by and actually giving us this input before the process really started. We do have, as you see, we do have definite concerns, and I know that you will address them when you're making your decision as going forward. And I do hope we have that second meeting. So, of
course. Well, Richard, that's what this, meetings like this are all about. We proactively reached out so we can have this conversation, and we're happy to meet with you again and answer more of your questions. Some of the more site-specific questions we're not able to answer because, again, we're not the experts in the industry. And I'll do my best in terms of coming up with a rendering. I don't have a budget, and I don't have a graphic designer who works for me. So I'll have to look into how we can come up with some sort of graphic that might work for you. Maybe there's other park staff that, can lend their time that are doing other things. But otherwise, I can't afford to pay anybody to come up with a graphic. The best way to get a graphic, traditionally would be for us to issue the RFP and solicit proposals from folks and see what their ideas look like. But absent that, we'll do our best. And I know you have another item about the green market, so that's also a concession. So you may need to call back on me when that item comes up.
By the way, one quick question, and this is in general for concessions. Concessions in general, the cost of the facility and operations is on the back of the concessionaire, right? So where does the liabilities from the city come in?
The liabilities from the city, what does that mean?
For the city. In other words, where are the costs for the city if the cost is borne by the person that is holding the concession? Where do the city monies come into this?
Well, that's the beauty of doing concessions, and it's not city money. Just to rephrase it, it's taxpayer money. So the idea of a concession is so that the concessionaire develop, maintain, and operate this concession at their expense in lieu of using tax dollars. So in if it works perfectly, there will not be required for any city money or taxpayer money into this concession.
Okay, I just want everybody to understand that. So, okay. All right. Thank you so much. Maybe we'll talk later. Okay. Okay. Next, on the agenda, Grow NYC, speaking of the fresh market or the farmers market. Who will be presenting that, and do you have any graphics to go with it?
No, my name is Kathy Chambers. I work for Grow NYC, and I apologize. My camera is out. I'm working from home from my phone. But no, it's just mainly a presentation. I can send a map tomorrow when I send the petition and stuff if you would like, but it's basically straightforward on what we're going to do, what we would like to do. Grow NYC has been around since 1970. It was started from Mayor Lindsay in 1970 as an environmental program, and we've had green markets in parks and city locations since 1976. We used to have a market on 14th Street and 31st Avenue from 2004 to 2019, where they started construction and then COVID hit. And since then, we've have hundreds and hundreds of emails asking us to bring the market back to Astoria. So I have been with Grow NYC 27 years, and I have been scoping out the area. We had a farm stand at Ditmars Park years ago, but we've been scoping out an area to bring a market back to Astoria. We have currently 190 regional farmers in our program who are all inspected. We have about 47 markets throughout the 5 boroughs, 22 that are in parks. We have been working with parks about 50 years now. We get a 10-year agreement. Every 10 years, we have to go through an RFP thing and renew our agreement. But in our parks agreement, we have been asked to expand for more markets in the city. And we only at this point have 3 in Queens, 3 green markets in Queens. And we felt that Athens Park was the place to have a market. It has the foot traffic, it has the stores nearby. A program called Project for Public Spaces did a survey years ago and found out that when a farmer's market is put into an area, it becomes a community gathering space. People bring their kids there. Stores start making more money because we only sell regional produce. We don't sell anything else. And so they go to the stores nearby to buy their things. So we thought Athens Park would be a perfect place. We're looking at Saturday on 30th Avenue between 30th Street and 29th Street. On Saturday, we would set up at 6 a.m. and be gone by 4:30 p.m. We would start in June and go year round. We will hopefully go year round. We currently have 3 in Queens right now. And we would set up curbside. The trucks would park curbside, and they set up 10 by 10 tents. And that would be it. Also, do you hear me?
Yes, we do.
Oh, I'm sorry. Also, we have on-site managers at the whole time during the market, and we have regional coordinators that oversee them, as well as an operations manager that oversees the site.
Okay. Again, this is I guess the cross I bear. I've been on this board too many years. This was a similar situation happened like this a number of years ago. There was a discussion to put a farmer's market in that same spot. It never did go through. One of the things that was brought up at that point was to instead try and put a fresh market in a fresh desert place where there was not a lot of options for the communities, particularly for fresh food. One area that was brought up at that point was what we now call the Access Oasis, which is 21st Street and Hoyt Avenue across the street from Geppetto Park. There's a sitting area there, which is a very nice area inside the park, which we always thought would be a great place to put some sort of a market, either a flea market or a farmer's market. And there's a lot of parking nearby because you're right next to the parking lot in Astoria Park. And normally that street there on Hoyt has parking on it. Also, you get a ton of traffic going through that area from the Triborough Bridge. I mean, one of the issues we frankly had at that point about putting it as Athens Square was the competitors in the area. Like you say, it can enhance things, but by the same token, you got United Brothers and I think a Lenny's Market, that are just 24-hour produce and fruit markets. You've got the supermarkets across the street. There's a lot of people selling the same product that you would be having there. And you just think that having something in the park itself, and if you're worried about traffic, there's a lot of traffic and a lot of foot traffic every day going into that park. It's one of the major hubs of this whole neighborhood. So I wonder whether that was considered, whether you looked at it, and whether it's something that you might reconsider. That would be my comments. But before you answer that, if there's other people that have questions, if you can bring that up, that would be great also.
Richard, are you going to call on people or we just start talking?
No, I call on people. Raise your
Okay.
hand.
I am.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to piggyback exactly what Richard said. That was a great location, that Oasis Park. A matter of fact, I believe there used to be one there and people loved it. And I think where Athens Park is way too congested. Your 10 by 10 tents, how will they be? All along the sidewalks? And how many would there be?
There would be along the sidewalk from 30th to 29th. And the sidewalk, it would give anywhere from 10 to 12 feet of walkway. That's like that in most markets in the whole city.
Right. How many tents would be put up?
I think there will probably be about, let me see, probably about 14 tents.
Oof.
Between the area. Yeah, and they're all curbside against the trucks.
Yeah.
We have that on the Museum of Natural History. We have those at Union Square. We have them at Rockefeller Center. We have them all over the city. And one of the big reasons you need the foot traffic is these are regional farmers, so they count on the money to make their farms go by foot traffic coming by. So 50% of what the farmers make are people walking by.
I get that, and I'm all for the farmers making money. I mean, farmers markets aren't what they used to be. We used to get, pretty steep bargains and discounts at these markets. Now they're just as, top dollar as your highest stores. But again, my vote would be for, if you can reconsider, over by the park, where it is a food desert over there.
Yeah, I've been over there. We used to have to actually have a farm stand down there. There's not enough foot traffic to sustain a farmer's market down there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Who else has their hands up?
I would love to speak to that location at Access Oasis as well, if it's all right if I go next, Richard.
Yes.
Sure. So my name is Kate Spalla. I founded Access Oasis a couple of years ago. We work through Partnership for Parks. We're the Friends of group that helps steward that space at the sitting area, 21st and Hoyt North. We actually had a market um, 2 weeks ago that had about a dozen and a half vendors, and we had several hundred attendees. I think it was over 300. And that was for a short period in the afternoon, I think from 1 to 4 or 5 p.m. And we have had a good amount of regular traffic at our open garden hours every weekend from April through November. So we've been in the space for 2 years, and everyone so far is correct that the closest supermarkets are, or even any sort of grocery store, even that there really aren't even many bodegas available. I think the closest grocery stores are almost a full mile away. So it's definitely an area that is in need, and it's been a goal of many members in our group. I've heard those calls from community members as well, that this has been trying to be activated as a farmer's market for about 15 years in this space. We have 23,000 square feet. We also have it's a nicely organized park where is room for aisles. We have seating available as well as tents, and we would love to host.
The problem with that is, like, I live in Brooklyn by Shore Road, and we have parks all along Shore Road. And the people, they want to be able to come and buy their local produce, then go to the stores and buy their milk and their meat and all the other stuff. They don't want to go a mile one way and then 3 miles the other way to get their product for their houses. It's just becomes inconvenient. It did for me when I lived over there. So we identified the area so they could get what they need, play with the kids in the park, go across the street, get their milk, their meats, their, toilet paper, whatever, and go home without having to travel a long way to get those things.
I do think that there's something to consider as well with that just adding access to more food is only additive. In addition to that, without the veggies and other things you can get at farmers market, just more to consider. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I have one quick question Christina. Have you actually gone out there and surveyed the local businesses around from 33rd Street down to 28th Street, down there on 30th Avenue?
No, I went to the park though, and I stood there and got petitions and talked to people for like 6 weeks in a row.
But you didn't talk to the local business.
No, I didn't talk to the local businesses though.
Okay, thank you.
That's true. But just to let you know, like Union Square is our flagship market. We have almost 100 farmers there during the season. And then you have like 7 different supermarkets that opened up around us, like Whole Foods and, Joe's. And there's probably about 7 supermarkets that just opened up in the last 15 years near us because it's become quite a food mecca. But what's the difference is from the farmers market is people gather there, they meet their family there, they go to the park, they hang out for the day, they talk to the farmers, they go to the farmers places and pick apples during the season. That's a whole different atmosphere than a store.
Richard?
Christina?
No, this is Katie. I don't want to cut in front of Christina, but my hand is also raised. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
You don't want to go, Katie?
Yeah, Christina?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm all about farmers markets. I think they're great. My concern is I I have to play the lotto tonight because I'm agreeing with Richard a lot tonight.
Something's wrong,
huh? I'm just saying, what are the odds? But I agree with you wholeheartedly in terms of it. If we're going to bring a farmer's market, we really need to prioritize where the needs are most for fresh produce. And I don't think it's in that area. I think it's actually Queensbridge Park. And I think Queensbridge Park would be a great space to hold all of these tables and vendors and farmers because I grew up in Queensbridge and one associated is still the one supermarket for over 3,000 people. So Queensbridge definitely has the need for a farmer's market, and I would love to advocate for Queensbridge, and I would love to petition because I know they need it. And I just wanted to say, as someone who frequents Athens Square Park, um, I think I think it's too small. And I also know that my boys and other like people use it to play with balls. And that's like, it's not a field, but that's their little soccer field. And so that's still play space.
This
Just
would be
wanted to,
curbside out on the street. They would park curbside and be on the sidewalk outside the street, not inside the park.
okay. Well, my biggest priority is, you know, ensuring that we address the food deserts. And I know Queensbridge is the number one. And if you look on a Google map right now, there are several supermarkets in the area, as well as like United Brothers, which has really affordable prices. And I don't want a staple in the community to have to compete with something that I also think is great, which is farmers market. I think it's best that we put it in a place that really needs it, and I think that's Queensbridge. So thanks.
Thank you so much.
L.
Hi, my name is Eric. I'm just gonna I'll take myself off. How you guys doing? I live in Sunnyside. I'm actually not part of your catchment area, but I am an elected member of the Farmers and Community Advisory Committee, which is an advisory board. We are 9 community members for the Grow NYC green market program. So, and there are 2 other members who are of the Queens community, and I'm here to speak about some things about the farmers market that, Kathy might have at limited time. And so I want to talk a little bit about why I think Athens Square would be a great location. And I also think that food deserts and food access needs to be addressed. But we need to look at the analysis that the Grow NYC have done, and they believe that the farmers market can be successful there. If the farmers market is successful at Athens Square, my belief is that you will have more success and be able to address more food access issues throughout your community. Farmers pay a lot of money, over $150 in some cases, per week to be part of the farmers market. So Grow NYC essentially leases space. I mean, the gentleman who was talking about tennis courts, I'm sorry, I don't see your name there, but he can talk, Alexander, I think, can talk more about how the arrangement works. So the location needs to be financially viable. I think there are also some important benefits that might not have been touched on about the food access programs. I'm not on the agenda, but I'm a community member. Is that okay?
In general, actually, this is restricted to just board members, just committee members to speak. But in this case, you've already started, so I can make exceptions in this case. So go ahead.
Well, I'm part of the green market. Well, anyway, I'm part of a public board, so hopefully you'll listen to me for one more minute, and then I'll shut up. So
Okay.
I apologize, and I appreciate you being gracious hosts and allowing me to speak. Grow NYC and Green Market Program have a number of food access programs. Kathy can talk more about that to ensure that the community members can afford and have access to food that's locally grown, locally sourced, inspected. So I'm advocating for this. I think that your community would benefit greatly from a farmers market at Athens Square, and there's a lot of other benefits. I'm happy to talk more with you guys about what the Green Market Program can do. So thank you for having me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Katie.
Thank you, Richard. Echoing some of the other comments about why we as community members and board members do not think Athens Square Park is the right location for this. To your point, Kathy, about how the market transformed Union Square, this is already a high trafficked destination location for shopping. Athens Square Park is small. That sidewalk gets cramped. I can't imagine how much more cramped it will be with farm stands there. And my question is, when did you actually go to Access Oasis recently and look at foot traffic? Was it during the times that the proposed green market is supposed to be? There is always foot traffic there, and I think, you know, this location is chosen just as a win to say, you know, Grow NYC has this high volume location and instead of actually looking at need and the fact that Access Oasis, I'm not speaking about Queensbridge specifically yet, Christina, but Access Oasis is a space that that is primed for something like this, a community use to bring produce to locals. And you know what? The farmer's market at in Jackson Heights is not right next to a supermarket for people to buy milk. So that comment seemed a little off to me, but I would say that you should really consider what people are saying here. And I think there will be pushback from local businesses that you've yet to speak to. And also the congestion that will exacerbate an already congested area close to a hospital and close to the train and the major intersections there. And I think it will just be a mess. So please consider where these well-informed community members are telling you to put this amenity that the community has been asking for a very long time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Phyllis?
Yeah, hi. Just I just want to bounce off of what Katie said. When was the last time you checked out Oasis, that area?
It's probably been a couple of years. I'll have to go back and look.
Yeah, a lot has changed since then. There are new condos that have been built down at Howlett's Point. You have thousands and thousands of people that would benefit from this. So you might want to revisit that. Again, I vote for Oasis over there. It would,
I
you know,
actually had a market on Vernon Boulevard, and I think it was 55th Street going down toward Hunts Point where all the buildings were going up. We had it there for 2 years and it died out because it just did not have the foot traffic over there. But I will check it out again.
Yeah, I would urge you to check it out again. Thank you.
You know, actually, this is actually a problem of great riches. You know, you could actually put in 2 or 3 great farmers markets. We'd love that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and if there's enough of a supply from the farmers upstate, why not consider that? You know, you want to be in a high traffic area by a subway stop. I understand that from a business standpoint. We want to see areas that are disenfranchised, particularly from food and things like this. We want to see them grow and be part of this wonderful thing. We love the farmers markets. They're great things to have. We want this to happen. We've been trying to do it for years. So, you know, also consider having more than one.
Well, the problem with if you can't just put a farmer's market and wait for people to come, if the farmers do not make money, they cannot sustain their farms and they don't stay there. I've had markets close in 2 weeks in the middle of Manhattan because they can just go week to week and not make any money. They're just not going to stay there anymore. So it makes sense to have it in an area where you know you're going to make some money for the farmers so they can sustain their farms. But we will look at those locations. I will. Thank you so much.
Phyllis?
Yeah, also in the comments, Kian had made a comment. We have on 31st Avenue, the open street, and there's a farmer's market there once a month. Wouldn't that be in competition with with your farmer's market?
No,
I mean, you know, it's an avenue away in a few blocks. So we're talking about competition and you're talking about farmers making money.
No, we've been in existence over 50 years. So that's a farmer's market that's once a month that rotates different people out. It's not, I talked to several people at Athens Park who live across the street from it, and they're not pretty thrilled with it. So I don't think something that's not a steady thing every week could be in competition at all. In fact, we have several markets throughout the city that aren't, not just us, Harvest Home and then Down to Earth have them in different areas, and they're not in competition because the city is so dense with people.
Mhm.
But it's something to think about. Thank you so much.
Yep, thank you.
My understanding with the 31st Avenue Open Street one is that they were starting with once a month to test foot traffic and how the business goes. And then I think they were thinking about expanding to make it more frequent. But that's, I think it was only a few months ago, or I don't know, maybe my sense of time is gone. But it wasn't that long ago that I think they started up. I think they're still figuring out what a frequency looks like.
Yeah, we actually work with DOT on many street closures throughout the five boroughs. So we've been doing it probably about 40 years with them. We were actually in the first street closure farmers market they ever did. But yeah, I mean, you just want to support the farmers.
Listen, anybody here that is not part of the committee but has a comment to make, while it's not open for everybody to speak, you can use the chat function. So if you have any questions or anything, comments you want to make, please utilize that function. We're sorry that these meetings are not open to the general public. But you can use the chat function, and we'll check it out and try and get back to you with any questions you may have. Florence, I have a question. You're looking for a letter of support.
Yes.
Is there a way that you would actually make a presentation at the general community board? Because I'm uncomfortable as a committee asking for that letter of support unless we have the whole board actually aware of what's going on and have a discussion there. I think this is too big a subject. That's too busy an area. And I also like to make sure that some of the businesses are aware of this and can attend on make their views known. This is a commercial area, and I think it's very important that they be addressed. They have to be addressed. If we try to do this without their input, we're going to be raked over the coals. So, Florence, I don't know if that's something that can work out with Evie.
I would have to check with, normally what a committee does is a committee pre-drafts the letter. You bring the letter to committee. The committee, under committee business, under the business working section, discuss with the board members. A motion is made for the letter, discussion opens. All the board members then discuss their feelings under that period of time. So at that time, the board members would discuss pro, con, Athens Square, and then the letter would be voted up or the letter would be voted down.
That's understood.
The agenda was drafted and sent to the chair. I don't know if we posted it today or not because I was in consultation meetings all day. I can find out if it was approved. We could do amendment to the letter if the chair deems an amendment to add a speaker. Right now, for this month, we have the Queens DA coming to speak. We have the conflict of interest board coming to speak, and we have a land use item this month. My suspicion, an educated guess, would be if this were to go on the agenda, it would wait till next month because we have a lot of things on the agenda this month. I don't know that that's what the chair would do, but I'm guessing that's what she might do.
Well, check with Evie and see what she has to say. Okay? And then I think we can go from there at this point. And then
does Kathy have a timeline that she needs this letter by?
I could wait until next month if that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, and we would like you to actually take a chance to actually go out and view these areas that we've been discussing. I think that maybe you may come up with a different solution that makes everybody happy. You never know. Check it out.
I know. I mean, we would love to open more markets. Right now, we got to make sure we open in an area that we know is going to be successful because we do not have the operational capacity to open more right now. But in the future, we may. but I will go take a look.
By the way, regretfully, that area there right now is under major construction. The whole street is closed off.
Oh, the
So-
place that you were talking about me looking at?
Yeah, they're redoing all the piping. The road's actually closed off, so you
Oh.
won't be seeing a lot of traffic there at this point, but you have to open your mind up and view what it looks like with everything back in one piece. So,
Yeah, wherever we look, we got to make sure that it's going to be a successful place for the farmers because we're all about, I mean, the farmers are our regional food security. If something happens here in the city, we got to count on our farmers to bring the food into the city for us to eat, which we are. We're part of the FEMA program that, you know, if something happens like Hurricane Sarah bringing food down to the city. We're part of that program with all the regional farmers to come down and help.
that's great stuff you do. It really is. We just like to see if we can figure out a win-win for everybody. So,
Thank you so much for hearing me tonight.
yep. Katie, you had a question?
Oh, just a comment. I don't know if Kate is still here, but that construction project is supposed to wrap up soon.
Yes.
So, I mean, Kate can speak to that. So if Kathy wants to do a site visit
Yeah.
on a Saturday, there's a group of people led by Kate of Access Oasis that would be happy to stand there. And I have counters to count the foot traffic, to be part of the rallying party for this, but Kate may know, but I think that the construction is over very soon.
Absolutely, yes. It's the end of the 3-year project of the main gas line in the city. I was told by the workers a couple weeks ago this should be the final month at most, and that was a couple weeks back. So I'm in touch with them, and we definitely get plenty of foot traffic from the pool during summer seasons. Well,
Yeah.
So
And
Richard, are we okay to put this off till the November full board because of all the guests that we'll have this month?
I would
That's a
think, I would think at this point, yes, and if we have to have a Parks meeting next month beforehand, for whatever reason, to draft a letter, we can do that also.
Well, they usually draft the letter, give it to us, and then you alter it, or you have me alter it. That's usually the way it goes.
Either way.
All right. So then we'll follow up tomorrow offline.
Okay.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Kathy. Okay. Okay. Next on the agenda. Okay, this is just an awareness section. This has to do with the baby park and the petition that's out there right now. We wanted to make sure everybody's aware of it. It's basically Councilwoman Julie Wan has sponsored a petition to expand the baby park facility for more green area. A lot of it is being currently used by the different city agencies, and I think also by Green Thumb for storage. So right now, I think that there's going to be I think they're all in negotiations right now between parks and what other city agencies are there. And we just wanted to make everybody aware of it because this park is within our district. We should know what's going on. So I know I had Florence see if she could get us some sort of a map or something like that that shows us exactly what we're talking about. Here we go. And Nick, I see you're here too, right?
Hi, Richard. Yeah.
Hi. So you want to speak to this also?
I'm mostly listening, but I'm happy to speak, answer any questions if folks have. Florence mentioned this earlier to me. She said it'd be great if I could join just to listen, but I'm here to answer anything if I can be helpful.
Okay, great.
Richard, I accidentally closed the file. I'll need half a second to reopen it. Bear with me half a second.
No problem. I'm glad you're doing it
I
now.
went to reduce it and I closed it, unfortunately. My bad.
So how many people are missing the summer that's going to be leaving us in a couple of days? Yep.
I'm over it.
Is it ever gonna leave?
Oh, I don't know if you heard this too. You know, Whitey Ford Field? They had this fireworks display. I don't know if anybody saw it, but there was an impromptu Moroccan soccer team fans went in, raised banners, and blew up fireworks and drones, and people could see it from half of New York City, and it was quite the event. It was a spectacular, unappreciated event.
Yeah, saw it, heard about it.
Yep.
And I heard there was some damage done to the fence or something.
Yeah, they broke in. Yeah.
Yeah, not good.
Mhm.
Where is this baby park?
It's well, you'll see in a second, but it's that, from between 21st Street and Queensbridge Park, there's
Yep.
that sort of road there that's for years had a bunch of cars parked on it, but we've been trying for a number of years to bring it back to life.
Yes.
Mhm,
Yep.
yeah.
Between 21st and Vernon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. As a matter of fact, Nick, if you feel like chiming in here, this is basically a map of, let me see this.
Yeah. I'm happy to share a little context if that's helpful.
Yeah, if you would do that, you'd be probably more familiar with it than I am, to be honest with you. So yes, if you could go over that, that would be great. Maybe Christina also has insights too.
Definitely, and I'd also just be remiss if I didn't mention. I saw in the guest list there's a there's a gentleman by the name of Daniel Taylor who's lifelong Queensbridge resident, who is sort of the godfather of Queensbridge Baby Park in many ways. So would definitely pass to him for any firsthand knowledge of how it used to be. But this is from, as you rightly mentioned, from 21st Street to Vernon, underneath and sort of adjacent to the Queensboro Bridge. There's all these lots that are all city owned, right? So if you see the green ones, that space, I think a lot of folks from Community Board 1 would especially remember the process that happened a few years ago now to sort of rehabilitate one corner of this space that is now sort of called Queensbridge Baby Park, and it's under construction. But Queensbridge Baby Park from 1939 onwards to about the mid 1980s was this sort of massive, this entire stretch was, just park space and playground space, right? It was launched for children, swings, sprinklers, all sorts of balance bars, seesaws, right? And so starting in the late 70s, the city started to fence off areas. It was sort of used for construction staging for the bridge. So we lost those park spaces, right? And they were sort of taken away. And progressively, it evolved that city agencies relocated some of their operations there from the Parks Department, the Green Thumb program, Natural Resources Group in the early 2000s. And so just in sort of like the words of actually Daniel Taylor, who's on the call now, or is on in the meeting as well. They didn't speak to anybody about this in the community. It was just sort of happened over time. So these were all really stolen from the Queensbridge community, and so the petition, which is sort of a partnership with New Yorkers for Parks, the Queensbridge Resident Association, Jacob Reese, and then it has the elected officials on it as well. Julie Wan, of course, who I work for, I should have started with, I'm her chief of staff, as well as Kristen Gonzalez, are all supporting this with a number of community organizations to call for the return of Queensbridge Baby Park, as well as some of these other city-owned properties to be open space in the neighborhood.
Good. And so you have a petition that's out now.
No.
And I think that, if we do agree to it, if the board is in favor of this, I think this is something that we could actually write a letter of support also, just the same as the elected officials. It is within our district, so yeah, it's something that might make sense. We can discuss that after this is done. Actually, I would like to hear from your friend there that has a lot of history with the area. That would be great if he could join us.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, Danny.
How you doing? My name's Daniel Taylor. I have put a little message. I got started with this when my wife, April Simpson, she was the resident association
Oh,
president
okay.
of Queensbridge. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
I know April, yeah. I remember.
Yeah, she passed in, last year.
Mhm.
But going back quite a number of years, maybe 12, 15 of them, I had started a community petition around the, Queensbridge to show the interest in getting that park back. And it was presented to the former council member Jimmy Van Bramer. And that's kind of how the wheels started turning on this thing. And I've attended many meetings with the park department and with actually the city planning commission. I did PowerPoint presentations trying to show them what used to be there, what is there now, and what it could be like. So this has been a pretty long battle for me. Besides the petition you see now, I'm just really elated that a lot of people are finally seeing the point and the interest that whole area back in when it was built in 1939 was built for the Queensbridge residents at that time for their children, and it was really a vital kind of network for Queensbridge. I was telling Nick, I grew up in that park. My moms used to take me there, and my other siblings, and just let us play and ride our bikes and whatever. Learned how to ride a bike, and I did everything in that park. Because back in them times, when my family moved there, I think in the 40s. We weren't allowed to ride bikes and stuff inside the project itself. So we used to have to go to that park. But it was really, a place where we all the whole community was able to gather and socialize. And that's why I said it was a very vital network for the community. Anyway, that means a lot to the Queensbridge residents. It means a lot should mean a lot to the whole entire Long Island City, because if it's not like we were the only ones that used it, and if it were given back to Long Island City residents, there's a whole lot of possibilities that can go there, and in the process of trying to restore it. It wouldn't be what it was when I grew up there, but it still has a lot of potential to serve the community and the public around in that neighborhood. So that's why I've stayed with it, and I've really been fighting for it because I just see the potential. And my initial focus was just on the handball court initially, because it has a handball court. I don't know if you could see it in that map, but there's a handball court that's been sitting there. That's the only thing that hadn't been affected by that whole repossession of by the Parks Department and the Department of Transportation. That's the only thing that's been left there. And I initially realized that a lot of our children don't get to go back there or even know how to play handball because there's no access to it. And it was very poorly kept. And that's what started my kind of passion to try to get it all back. It was just focusing on that. But when I realized how much was taken from the community when they took the whole park, and it was always led us to believe. Well, I was led to believe in some of the meetings was that it was going to be given back. It was just a temporary thing because they was doing painting the bridge, and it was lead paint, and they didn't want no children underneath the bridge at the time it was being painted. But that thing that job was long finished, and they never gave it back.
Okay.
So
yeah, that was 20 years ago.
So that's what that's why I'm logging on, just to hopefully hear some good news that you're willing to get on board with us. There's a lot of people they do understand the importance of that to the community. It is public land. It belongs to the public, not just to the Parks Department or Department of Transportation. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Christina.
I appreciate you, Richard.
Hmm?
Thank you for that. I think I'd be remiss that we not contextualize that this is part of the council members' struggle to make more one LIC more equitable, I guess. And my concern is like Queensbridge residents themselves are more concerned about the inside of their apartments than what a little park under the train might and could look like. I think they're more concerned about their playgrounds right now that have lead, their community center, which is an early childhood center, which had to be shut down because of lead. Like, I think there's so much that needs to happen within Queensbridge, not just around Queensbridge. And it's, I think this should include more of those things. Because my concern is looking, 5 to 10 years down the line, is this even going to be a space where Queensbridge residents actually feel welcomed? Because I don't think they feel that way right now about Gantry State Plaza. And if this is just an extension of that, my concern is that this is not for actual longstanding residents. These are for future residents to come. Um, That's my biggest thing. I know that there's been dreams and for turning some of that to even urban gardening so that we can feed our people because again Queensbridge is a food desert. um so I just wanted to add all those things, and then lastly that because this is part of that one LIC thing, I'm wondering if the conditions that CB1 had proposed have been implemented within that plan, because it'd be really weird for us to support this and not make sure that all of our conditions that we proposed and have spent weeks on, months, not actually be implemented. Thank you.
Nick, one quick question before Amy. Is this part of the one LIC plan? Is this a stipulation that you want, that's going to be, that you're dealing with DCP about?
Yeah, it's a good question, and Christina raised a lot of similar questions, so I want to, I'm happy to clarify anything. So this is one of, Julie has said basically that she would only vote for the one LIC plan. The application submitted by Department of City Planning to the City Council. If a number of the sort of the red lines or like sort of lines in the sand, if you will, are met, and one of them is the transformation of all of the sites back to public open space, right? All of the sites underneath the Queensboro Bridge. So this is Queensbridge, Baby Park, and some of the others under the ramps on the highway ramps or the on and off ramps of the bridge. Other ones are like schools. Other ones, for example, school seats are investment within Queensbridge, right? So the PSAL or the PAL, the Police Athletic League, whatever, childhood center, as well as Reese, like Christina mentioned, and then capital investments in the plan itself, in the development itself. So I think all of these are sort of lines in the sand for Julie and conditions to support one LIC. So Phyllis, if there's more clarification you need, that I'm giving the larger context, but I think that's maybe the shortest way to put it. So yes, it is part of that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Amy.
Thanks, Richard. Danny, so nice to meet you on Zoom, and we miss April, and so nice to know that you're carrying on her mission for us.
Thank you.
I second.
I'm also curious about how the council members, the plan, one LIC plan, it's a two-part question, like what some of the ideas were for, redoing Baby Park here. Will they include playgrounds? And then my second part to that question is, safety issues, right? Because I think, things falling off the bridge or things, I think just like the tennis bubble, things kind of coming down of ramps and highways. I mean, it's not the best place for, any incidents to happen for, a park or things like that. So, if there were already some designs kind of laid out for Baby Park.
Sure, yeah. So I think no designs as of yet. Obviously, I think all the sort of park spaces will have to go through a community process to really plan them out, right? We wouldn't want anyone to come in with designs and say this is how it's got to be. It's got to be planned out by with community input, and it shouldn't happen any other way. The sites underneath the bridge are currently being used for city employees who work out of some sort of decrepit trailers there every day. They're not in a hard hat zone or anything like that. Those are areas. Some of it is adjacent to the bridge, which is not covered by the bridge, and some of it is covered by the bridge and has been space that we've used since the Queensbridge houses were built, right? And Baby Park was sort of launched. And so in those areas, there certainly, isn't the same risk. We've had a lot of conversations with the Parks Department and sort of beyond about sort of what it would take to, if to address concerns like that under the Brooklyn Bridge, under other bridges. They've had a lot of creative designs and, whether it's netting and other things that can sort of move in when there are concerns. But currently that space is safe to use for city employees. So it's there's a pretty high height clearance and it can be brought back into being really high quality public space again.
Thank you.
Katie.
And Amy, there was a part two of your question. I don't know if I answered it. Or there's
Basically, I mean, I think, again, just the safety issue under the, and under areas that, may have, we all know our infrastructure needs a lot of help as well. So it's like, a little nerve-wracking.
This is Mr. Taylor, just one point. I just have to make a point that there are an awful lot of bridges in New York, and most of them do have parks under them. And I've never myself heard of any major incident where some debris or anything came flying off and caused any kind of accident or issue. And that's just me as long as I've been looking at this project. I know a lot of people had that same concern. Specifically, the Parks Commissioner brought that up. I believe one of the first ones I dealt with, that is, it's not a safe, people throw stuff off of bridges, but it's never happened, so will be hypothetical. That's just my feelings on that. There's a lot of parks under bridges for that matter.
Katie.
Thank you. I think that thank you, Danny, for coming and sharing your personal experience in the park, and also to give community members and board members a little bit more personal context about the space. I guess my question, to piggyback off of Amy and maybe Christina's comment, has to do with a little bit of my confusion when I first saw this petition, knowing that these spaces and these parcels were part of the One LIC plan. And I guess my question for the council member's office, and Nick, since you're here, has to do with the motivation for this petition starting now. Is it because the goal is to have this move forward no matter what happens with One LIC? Is there a timeline for when that would be expected? And is there funding to do this currently? Based on the environmental justice angle of this alone, I think just on that merit, more green space is important, but I do have concerns about the brownfield potential and further contamination of the parcels of land underneath the bridge, which we know lead paint was an issue and still continues to be an issue in regards to any projects near bridges. So I guess those are my main questions. I, as an individual, support more open space, especially open green space, accessible space that is adaptable and accessible for members of Queensbridge and all members of the community in the city. I just wonder really about the timing of this. And, you know, people, to Danny's point and other members' points, people have been pushing for access to the space for a long time. Before Grow NYC, not Grow NYC, excuse me, Big Reuse went there and all of this stuff. So I'm just wondering, and maybe a little suspicious about the timing of this, even though I wholly support it.
Yeah, it's a great question. A few questions, comments, concerns there. So yeah, I mean, I think one of the real opportunities we have, right, with these rezonings is to address longstanding community issues. We know the capital needs within Queensbridge are longstanding. The need for, bringing back Queensbridge Baby Park is longstanding. The school seat shortage in Long Island City is longstanding. So it's sort of to move the city to address these issues that have sort of, been an issue historically before, additional density is brought in through like just random private applications one by one through a council member's office, but to do it in a way that you can harness. These are really the opportunities when you can harness the sort of like the neighborhood plan process that DCP has to address these types of issues. So I think it's an opportunity now with the 1LIC plan, and I think the community is rightly has sort of made this a priority. Daniel's fought really hard. Others have fought really hard to over many years, right? And so we have this opportunity now to lift it up with this plan. I will also just clarify that CB1 in the recommendations you all made as stipulations for 1LIC included this as well as like one of those stipulations. So I think in that way we're already aligned sort of in principle that like this has to be done before 1LIC should be voted on. It should be only approved if this happens. And so that's Julie is 100% aligned with that and has made that very clear to the city. So that's sort of like the sus aspect of it. Just wanted to address like that's sort of like the motivations for now and sort of what the opportunity we have is. I think in terms of the environmental remediation piece, that's very fair. I mean, look, there's one site now that they're currently under construction. I think it's going to open in 2026 or next year at some point on the corner of sort of half of one of those lots that they're calling Queensbridge Baby Park. In the same way that they've had to do construction in that area to make sure it was safe for the community, they would have to do in other places, and I think that would be true for any site. So, we would expect it to go through the same type of process. I think there's a site underneath where the DOT Bridges Division is now that might even require a little bit more work and sort of environmental remediation, and it needs to be done so it can be opened as public space again.
Just as an aside, one of the reasons it took almost 30 years to fix the seawall underneath Queensboro Bridge was because of the contamination there. So, and it had to be remediated, and yeah, that does have to be checked, and if all the topsoil has to be removed and everything. That's something that frankly should happen, even if it's used as a storage area, because there are people there. I don't, whether it's a park or whether it's used for logistics and things like that, doesn't matter.
Can I say one more thing? I'm sorry. This is just about where the street line on Vernon, where the upper roadway to the bridge goes, and right next to Baby Park and right next to the path that leads to Vernon. And what is happening, since you're here, Nick, with the flooding there and the loss of access to the sidewalk. People are walking out into the street with strollers and walkers. It just gets flooded there every time there's a big rain.
You're talking about Vernon and like where the greenway is?
Sorry. No, I'm talking about on 21st Street,
Okay.
right as you go to the walking path. So if you're on 21st Street Baby Queensbridge and the path that leads to Vernon is right there. And then you have the ramp that goes to the upper roadway in the afternoon. It just gets flooded out. The sidewalk part of the grassy area, it just is completely drenched and flooded. And you'll see people trying to proceed going toward, Queensboro Plaza South and they have to go out into the street. It's very dangerous. I don't know if people must have called the office about it, but it's something I've witnessed numerous times. And since we're talking about that
Sure.
general location, I just wanted to bring it up. And it's not parks, so sorry, Richard.
Yeah, I'm happy to try to get the agencies to focus on it for sure. I'm still in my office, so I will I'll work with Florence and we'll try to address this together. She may actually have a late and
Richard, can I make a comment?
Yeah.
The area is low-lying, and we used to have requests for sewers on the area. They have what are called dry wells. Dry wells. Dry wells are basically buckets that catch the water, and then the water is supposed to evaporate. Because the area is low-lying, what the office was told many, many years ago, before I was district manager, I was working in the office. We were told because the area is low-lying, they can't put in the plumbing, the
sewer line in?
underlying sewer lines and stuff, sort of kind of like near Whitey Ford Park, why they haven't put bathrooms in. It would be an enormous undertaking because of the sea level over there, the water level over there, allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah, because every building down there by Whitey Ford Field has a sewer. But anyways, we won't start that conversation won't start.
But they pay for it, the city doesn't. I don't know if that's the issue. But they have dry wells, that's why that occurs.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, Nick, if you can help us out with that though, and you guys, you and Florence, it's a very legitimate concern. So, okay. So I think, Mario, you had your hand up. Do you still want to speak?
No, you answered my question, but I do want to just say anybody that's concerned about the bridge, being located where it is with relation to this park just needs to look at our flagship park, Astoria Park, which is right underneath the Triborough Bridge. And we don't have any concerns, maintaining parks there. So, yeah.
And not only that, we've had Triborough A has usually been a home for construction equipment a million times, gone through the same thing.
Constantly.
We managed to get rid of them, but every time it's a fight. So, yeah. So, okay, good. Well, listen, I think that we'll discuss after this whether we want to write a letter. But Nick, appreciate you coming, and Danny, same thing. And again, thanks for coming, and let's good luck to all of us to get all this stuff accomplished. And now we get to go into the wonderful, fun stuff of priority budgets. That's the next part of our meeting. Nick, you know about budgets.
I'm going to sign off and let you take it from there.
Thanks. Okay, now.
Thank you. I'm going to sign off too. Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys.
All right.
Okay, why don't we, you know what, before we go into the budget, I think that would anybody like to make a motion regarding a letter of support for the conversion of or the restoration of Baby Park? Does anybody have any objections to it, or would somebody like to make a motion?
What's already part of our conditions?
Well, we're going to start with a motion, then we're going to have discussion.
I'd like to make the motion.
Okay, Mario Vergara, do we have a second with anybody?
Amy Howe seconds.
Okay, so now I'll open the floor for discussion. I'm assuming that there are some stipulations that would be in order. Does anybody have, to facilitate this, if we can put them together into one package instead of voting on each one, I think that's going to be a lot easier. So, who has any suggestions in terms of stipulations?
I meant, wasn't that part of our stipulations from when we said yes with stipulations to the one LIC plan?
Right, well, we're writing a second letter here. So if you want to write the letter, if you don't want to write the letter, then there's no stipulations needed. But we did have a
I guess mine
motion.
is just a clarifying question. I'll just listen.
You can do more than one thing, you know, so. And even if you're not on the committee, that's fine, you know, if, as long as you're a community board member. Florence, you seem to have your hand up?
No,
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Well, one thing I would stipulate is I would want to make sure that core studies are done on the on all the ground to make sure that in fact every area is not contaminated. And then if it is contaminated, to have remediation done. Any other? Yes, Christina.
I mean, I think obviously water, flooding resiliency be part of it.
Mhm.
And I think it would be honor the work that of previous night Queensbridge residents who were striving to turn some of that land to community gardens. I think it
Mhm.
would be great to ensure that at least some plot of that land would go to community gardens
All right. Mhm.
that members can garden on.
Okay.
Particularly because the nitrous soil is contaminated as well, so we're not allowed to plant those.
Oh, yeah. All right. I didn't know that. That's not good. Okay. Okay. Any other stipulations? Nope. Okay, then why don't we hold on, let me, if I can call for a vote, I'm gonna all those, is there any, let me put it this way, with those two stipulations, it'll make it easy. Is there anybody opposed?
Richard, I thought we can't do any
you're
votes.
not supposed to vote. Yeah. Thank you, Amy.
Oh,
Thank you,
because
Amy. You're not supposed to vote.
I
So
think
normally, Richard, what happens
then
is
I'll
if
write a
there's
letter, then we'll vote. Yeah.
yeah, what you do is you discuss the stipulations, put everything in a packet.
Yeah.
Either you or you ask me to draft the letter. Then
Mhm.
once the letter is drafted, it goes out in draft form to the entire board, and
Right.
it's voted on under business as I described before. So
Right, I
step
wasn't
one,
gonna, this wasn't actually to, you know, to send a letter out to them, it was just send a letter to the board. In other words,
no,
that's,
no, we're not allowed to vote at all. It's a violation of open meetings law. You don't have to vote to send a letter
oh,
to the
because
board.
it's, oh, yeah, because it's virtual. Okay, never
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, it's okay. Accidents
Problem.
happen.
No problem. It's a
But
virtual.
you have your bullets, you can draft the
Yeah.
letter.
Mhm.
Then before the full board, we will mail
Okay.
it to everybody and you do your vote under business.
Okay, and when will New York State get with the times and allow virtual voting? But anyway, come on, anyway, okay, very good. Okay,
When
so
they
then,
fix the AMI, Richard, at the same time, when they fix the AMI.
yeah, okay. Anyway, okay, so we have there's two stipulations. We'll put together the letter and we'll submit it to the full board. Okay, lastly, the budget. Okay, I first of all want to thank Kian so much. Kian did a great job. He's hit the time together to put out the spreadsheet. I want to just begin this to say though, it's very, very important that everybody you know, participate in this. We, out of the 10 board members or committee members, excuse me, we had 3 responses. Which is really not enough for us to really give a justifiable recommendations to Amy and her committee. What I would hope we can do, so this, the way Kian put together this spreadsheet that everybody has their own tab. You see what everybody else recommended, you know, so I would hope that the other board members tonight, okay, could fill in their own particular tabs, okay? Please take the time. It just takes a few minutes, but if you can do that, then Kian and I will take the completed spreadsheet, and then we will, you know, blend it down to one particular presentation to give to the Budget Committee, which happens to be chaired by our own Amy Howe. And then she will take that and she will submit that to the full board for approval. If you look at it, if you can move it up a little bit, or we can go through some of the tabs, you can see how it's structured. Let's see. Maybe if you can scroll through what everybody's tab, that would be a great way to do it. If you look on the bottom, there's some tabs. Yeah. So Kian, this is his capital, and then the next tab will be his expense.
Yep, and I went in and created a tab for everyone here. So if you have the link, you all should have gotten it via email. All you have to do is open the link, go to the tab that corresponds to your name, and then just put in, 10 is ideal, but as many as you can put in for capital and expense separately.
Yep, simple. So is there anybody that has a problem with being able to do this? Do you think you'll be able to do this within the next day or two? If you have issues, please, let us know now. Maybe we can address them. But this is one of the most important things that the community boards do. We are providing a blueprint and a roadmap to all the elected officials and agencies as to what the community desires, where the capital and expense budget should go. And as Amy will speak to it also, this is just one of the most important duties of any community board member. So we would please take the time. To be blunt, we've been trying to get people involved in this since last spring. I know we're down to the last minute or two here, but please try and get this done.
Hey, Richard?
Yep. You
Hi,
second
Richard.
that, right? Yes, Ryan.
Yeah, can you just tell me the name of that file, that spreadsheet? I'm in my email now. I just want to make sure that I can locate it. What was the name of this Parks Committee?
Yeah, Parks Committee Expense and Capital Request 2025. I believe I sent it to your email, Ryan, but I can always forward it if there's any issue.
What was the exact time that you sent that email? Can you check so everybody can find it? Yeah.
I think I did it. Let me see. I think I did it yesterday.
I think you did it October 5th. That's when I got mine.
Yeah, that sounds right. It was like mid-afternoon yesterday, I think. Like maybe around noon or so.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll keep looking. I might follow up with you, Kian, if I can't find it.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you can't find it, please reach out to me, Florence, Keen, we'll forward it to you. Florence has
Sounds
it
good.
also. You can get our copy directly from the board office too.
Great, thank you.
Hey, Richard, I had a question.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think I'm on your committee, but we've done on the committees I was on. We took this opportunity at this Zoom meeting and we went through each one of them now, and it went through rather quickly. I don't know if you're into doing that.
Yeah, normally what I was going to do was there were three of us that actually had filled it out. It's Michelle and Kian and myself. So
how many other members are online now here?
Yeah, so I was going to each of us was going to maybe go through our list and give some of the reasons. So we did, within this spreadsheet, did put the reasons down also. They're all also printed out. But if Kian, if you want to briefly go through what your priorities were, so everybody can hear, and then maybe they can take notes.
Sure.
Or this way they can vote like right now, if they want that 1, 2, or 3. Like, let's go through each person.
Well, I would assume we want to pull all the responses together first, right? Before we vote.
Do it, Phyllis, may be different than other committees. What we do is everybody gives a top 10 list for their expenses and their capital. We assign numeric values, like their number 1 would get 10 points.
Right.
And add everything together and we come up with a list, a composite list of everybody's
yeah. Well, it sounds similar, but okay, you have your way. Very good.
Yeah, we don't really need to vote at this point, so. Okay, so Kian?
Yeah, sure. So we can, or what are we looking at right now? Is this the capital one? Yeah, okay. If we scroll up, I could just speak to each one very briefly. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I'm just plus oneing the renovating Whitey Ford Field. It seems like there's a lot of community support behind that one. The second one that I had put down there was Shore Boulevard being a permanent investment. I think as it stands right now, right along Shore Boulevard, during the pandemic, I think they opened it up to be an open street. There's temporary gates there, but the street markings still signify that it's basically a car road. And I think that there's a lot more we could be doing in order to make it a better, more sensible community investment that reflects the current use of the street. Beyond that, I did get someone who reached out to me. They basically have a petition going for some kind of a dog park in South Astoria. And I think by south, we're kind of defining that as south of the Triborough Bridge down to about, let's say, Broadway or 36th Avenue. Largely a space that, let's say, between 21st and Steinway has very, very little green space. So potentially commissioning a study. I know, Richard, you and I said maybe we move that to expense.
Right.
I'm still considering that one, but I think that might be a good idea. Yeah, four is reconstructing the Hallett's Point piers for public access. I live right by that area, and I can certainly say that if you go right by kind of where Chateau Le Wolf is, there's a lot of unused pier space there. They're just like open, I don't even know what they are. There's just like concrete. I think they're former piers. They're completely shut off to the public, and they would make for a really good continuous waterway. Inspired. Yeah,
One thing that you should do is give an exact address. I think
I did.
one thing that Florence told me, and actually we're gonna maybe have to edit some of these. She said that the city is requiring exact addresses for anything that's a specific capital project.
Okay.
Well, which I didn't know about. Florence, if you could explain exactly what people need so we know.
I may just say, if you're talking about what I think you're talking about, Kian, nothing can be built on those. Those are DEP outflows. So when there's combined sewage overflows during big rainstorms, that's a DEP site. So water will come through them out into Hallett's Cove. So if you're talking about space time, the DeSuvero studio, and then next to it,
Oh, you're talking about there. Ah, okay. Yeah,
Are we talking about the same? I could
What address are
genuinely
you
could be
talking
right, but I'm talking about like next to, I think it's Socrates Park, kind of right by the
I'm
beach.
talking about the land there. There's a square of land where they park
Yeah.
cars and stuff.
Oh, no. There's no. I
That's
haven't
a
seen
whole
cars
other
there.
story. That's a whole other story. That's privately held land, and the owner, because he's very vindictive, at one point he wanted to build a condominium with a marina there, and the city stopped him, so he refuses to sell that land. Period. Parks has been trying to get it for 20 years, and they can't.
It's private property.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll replace that with something else then. That's good to know.
Yeah, that's not gonna.
Yeah. Otherwise, yeah. Go ahead.
So, Amy had sent out a draft of the capital expense for each committee with columns. The columns in Amy's list are the columns that we need to submit the capital expense request. So you have your committee items, you have your numbers 1 through 10, if that's what committee is choosing. You have the item that you're choosing, you have the location where the item is, and you have the reasoning behind the item. So the city does request location. So it would be a separate column. So for example, if you were talking about Astoria Park, you would say 19th Avenue and Shore Boulevard, for example. And for each item, you need to be specific to the location. So if you said this one has bathroom at the park on 47th Street and 21st Avenue, you would include the park's name, which park it was. These are a little bit vague. They need to be more meaty.
Is that for the final list though, Florence, that the committee recommends, or?
Well, I mean, when you're doing it, to me, it makes sense to do it from the beginning till the end, so that when you're submitting it to Richard at the 12th hour, you and Richard aren't, because how many committee members do you have? 10?
Yeah.
So if you have 10 members, that's 100 items you're going to be sorting through. Think about that. So you want each of your committee items to give it to committee members, to give it to you as clean as possible. And I mean, for this exercise, you only have till the 21st. My humble opinion, and opinions are like noses, everybody's got one, is don't exceed 10, because the city really only wants 5.
Yeah, we're gonna do. We're
You'll
doing
have the
that.
5 left over for next year,
Mhm.
and then have the 5 that you'll give Amy for this year.
Okay, why don't we,
Amy wants you. She has her hand up.
yes, Amy, go ahead, because I was suggesting that maybe while we work on this and we can, and I can even work with you, Amy, on this too.
Mhm. Yeah.
When we're actually picking the top 5 in each one, we can just be specific. And we don't have to do
Well,
every one of these
yeah, I
now.
want to ask about your weighting and assigning points, because I think what's happening is that if each person has a different title or different description of the project, and I just want to be consistent in how we're collecting info for a location, right? So that, like I may know it as something else, and Kia might label it as, the location. So I think that would just, duplicate a lot of our efforts. So I'm
Well,
trying to figure out like how do we
I think that at this point, why don't we just go as we were going? Because we're only going to take the top 5 from each one once we've
Right.
the points. And then at that point, we can get specific to location on those 5. Then we have the rest of the year to worry about the other ones. We have some time constraints here. So we're only looking at having defined specific locations on 10 items.
My goal was also to reduce the cognitive load for people, given the participation rate here. So we can always work that detail out on whatever we do prioritize. I'd rather just folks get it done, just throw something in there, and then we can always ask for details after when we submit the
I have
final
to
thing.
say I really appreciate you doing this spreadsheet for everybody, so everybody has a voice in it and in the process. This is absolutely fantastic.
Reducing friction. That's all it is.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's great. It's great to see all this.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so don't worry about the location or nothing, guys. Just put down your list and we'll whatever we end up submitting, the top 5 items, we will get very specific on them. The rest of them we keep in our committee archives, and we're going to bring them out next year and see if they need to be things need to be adjusted again. But once we get this going, every year it should be easier.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Richard,
All right,
one last question. I have not had a chance to go through the survey, the online survey, with community inputs. Did you have a chance to go through that and see if there were any parks items on there?
Not really, no.
Okay.
To be honest
All
with
right.
you. You know
Well,
what?
if I
No.
spot anything, I'll let you know.
Oh, I mean, I'm also of the philosophy that those surveys and parks requests and all that stuff, we're a community board that represents the community. I almost don't care what those surveys say. I just want to know what the community says,
Well, yeah, no, but I think, it's the big topics are always, affordable housing, right? So, yeah.
Well, that's a whole other thing, but we're parks, so it's different. I don't
No, I
really.
know. I'm just, thank you.
All right, let's so keep going. Ken, if
Sure. Yeah, I could just speak to them briefly. I know we're here late, so
yeah.
I think one of them was just replacing all the water fountains at Astoria Park. I live right by Rainey Park, and I think they did a fantastic job by having the water, like you fill up your water bottle with
I
them.
have to ask you, weren't they recently done? We just did the big renovation, and I would check.
I don't think it's all over the park though.
Okay, maybe not. Okay.
I think it might be localized to just the north side. So to Florence's point, we can get specific on that, obviously, where we're requesting it.
Right.
Yeah, bathroom renovation at the Astoria Park track. That thing is a hellhole. Then we have the enhanced lighting at the Astoria Park skate park. Very dark over there. I think that's something we've talked about.
Fighting for
What?
that. I've been fighting for that for years.
Oh man, yeah, it's a long time coming. It's been like that since I was a kid. I grew up in Astoria, so I remember when it was first built, actually.
I remember when they first built it, and the skaters are there with flashlights at night.
Yep. Yeah, or turning them off when they wanted to get away with stuff. But yeah, so and then it's renovating the Astoria Park Terrace and locker rooms. Anyone who's been in that locker room knows that it is in much need of repair. It's super old. Another one is new bathroom on the south side of, I'm sorry, north side of the park. Unless you go all the way to the playground, there really isn't any good area for a bathroom up there. So I think there would be interesting opportunity, or at least commissioning a study. And then the final piece here, because that's kind of close to home for me. I grew up on 46th Street and Ditmars. there's a small playground there that drives the community insane because it's a really nice park. There really isn't any other green space in the area. There is no bathroom there whatsoever. So the parents often have to take their kids all the way home to use the bathroom when they need to go and then bring them all the way back. It just strikes me as crazy. And it gets pretty crowded there in the summer. So yeah, those are my 10. I can very quickly go through the expense unless we
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like we
go
get
through
the
it.
idea. Or
Is that Paul Raimundo Park? Just checking. Do you know the name of the park? I believe that's Paul Raimundo
It is.
Park.
It is.
Uh,
It's generous to say that the parents bring their kids home.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes, it's 47th and 48th Street on 20th Avenue.
It looks
Yeah,
like
it's Paul
Paul
Raimundo. It's a
Raimundo. Yeah, you're
beautiful
right.
park. They did
Yep.
a wonderful
That
job.
that
No
was
bathroom.
renovated about 10 years ago. I was, or maybe more, 10 or 15 years ago.
And still
10,
no
10.
bathroom. Yeah.
Mhm.
We could ask Richard for those bathrooms that they're putting in Hoyt, but they're having problems with them.
Oh, yeah, never mind.
They're having a problem with the door mechanism.
They won't, they put them in and they're millions of dollars each and the doors don't open.
The mechanism, but that's far cheaper than a cement
Yeah,
bathroom. It's a fraction of the cost of the cement bathroom. Something to think about.
Yes. I don't want to think about $6.5 million for a bathroom. I'm sorry, I can't do that. But anyway. Go ahead.
You want me to keep going on the expense or?
Yeah.
Change it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think you may need to change over.
Yeah.
Yep. So Keen Betancourt expense. Perfect.
And when I click on it, it's not changing. Do I have to go back to the original document? Change it?
I don't know why it wouldn't be. It looks like maybe that's
So
not a
look, I go
screenshot,
down
is
to
it?
the bottom of the screen. Well, if that's what Richard sent me, yes, it is a screenshot.
I think that's why it's a screenshot. I think you would have to go into the file, which I don't know if I've shared with you, Florence.
1 minute. No, I never got it, which I should be getting
No, I
any
sent you the
emails.
link. Lawrence, I thought I sent you the link.
No, sir. You only sent me the screenshot, what I'm displaying.
Oh.
Can you please give Kian Betancourt sharing privileges, Harish Studios? Kian, you can share from yours. Would you mind?
Sure.
Just give me a second. They'll give you privileges. Please give Kian Betancourt sharing privileges. Try now, Kian.
Okay.
There we
Working,
go.
right?
Can you make it a little larger? Is that a possibility?
Yes. Is that better?
Yeah, much.
Okay. Yeah, I think number one that I've heard, at least from talking to community members, is the lifeguard staffing at Astoria Pool. They just had very, very few with limited hours, and I think we could greatly benefit the community by doing that. More parks enforcement patrol. This is just kind of an idea, but something that has a designated maybe pod of people or something to that effect that can better enforce things after dark or later evenings. That's often when we see a lot of reckless behavior in the park. Also, things like littering that I think would be really powerful to address. Also, that's kind of number three. Just more trash cleanup and general cleanup. I don't know who that would go to, but the trash cans, if you ever go there, are just constantly overflowing. Also, just more ability to pick things up off the ground when they don't make their way into a trash can. Just more system around flooding, so monitoring that. There's a lot of parks that flood. Once again, we can get more specific here if we need to. But also just even within the bathrooms, if they were to overflood, there's just a very slow response time to that kind of thing. More expanded youth and senior program staffing, that's kind of self-explanatory. Rodent abatement techniques. So again, I kind of said maybe this is more under capital, but like rat-resistant trash cans. Maybe I replace the other one with that. Comfort station relief team. So this is kind of what I was talking to before. More of a quick response to when bathrooms are out. I think parks employees or something similar. Getting some kind of like CPR or stop the bleed training would be powerful if they are around. I could see that being something that helps. I think this is probably more capital, but just more ADA access for the east side of the park. There's a lot of stairs, very few ramps.
That
and
would
then
be probably, yeah.
that's capital, yeah. And then more event staffing. I have just heard that they're very bare bones, and there's a lot of wonderful events that happen in the park, but I think we could better fund the crews that run it and allow them to run more efficiently. And that's what I got.
The events that happen at the park, most of them are other organizations that pull out permits. So if you were to put more event staffing at the parks, it would be either pre or post events. because, for example, Central Astoria LDC does a tremendous amount of the staffing in the park, the concerts, the movies, so on and so forth. So I don't know if you're aware of that.
Oh, no, I wasn't. That's good
Yeah.
information.
Yeah, just trying to be helpful.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thanks. Great,
Yeah.
Kian. Katie, you had a quick question?
Oh yeah, just thank you, Kian, for all of your work on this. I just had a question about the feedback you received about the need for increased lifeguard staffing at the pool, because
Yeah.
I understand that that was a problem, especially last year with the citywide lifeguard shortage. But I was at the pool a lot this summer, and that was never an issue firsthand. Didn't matter what day of the week. The pool was run incredibly well. The staff was great. The only time it was limited access, I wrote it in the chat, was around Labor Day and then the week between Labor Day and when the pool closes. And that was because there were less people there. So I don't think that is, I don't think that's an issue at all anymore. So that's my feedback about that one.
Oh, it's
Okay.
super helpful. I had a few folks tell me that, but that does contrast with what they may have told me. So again, I mean, I'm open to whatever here. I
One
ranked them
thing
in a
that
rough order, but yeah.
one thing that happened with the lifeguards is that the lifeguards in previous years was under a different agency. I don't remember which one. There was a lot, it was very political. Parks took it over last year. So a lot of the differences you see is because of Parks actually running something and running it well. It wasn't run under Parks before. Or it was, or maybe it was Parks before and now another agency has it. But I know in the last year, there was an agency change. So a lot of the change, I think, is because of that. Um, is Do you have questions specifically about what Kian's list is? Go ahead, Phyllis.
Yeah,
'Cause
hi.
people get-
I just wanted to, I'm with Astoria Park Alliance and I'm a board member there. And we also do a lot of events. We have movie night, we have pumpkin smash. Matter of fact, this weekend we're having our classic car show. And we staff and we clean up and we also maintain and beautify the park. So we're, right there with the park, cleaning up and maintaining it and holding a lot of events. Just wanted to share that.
Good. Okay, great.
So, well, I mean, I wrote this in the chat, but as folks are bringing up ideas like this, like there were a couple in the Zoom chat, there was the thing you just brought up, Phyllis. Like I have my list, and I mean, I can remove it, but like the more the merrier here. If you guys are having trouble filling out 10, like listen to these ideas and put them in yourself. Like this is exactly the kind of feedback we should be soliciting. Christina had a really good idea too for Ravenswood as well in the chat.
Christina? Yep.
I see this is Kian's now, and I think they're all great, but I would just be remiss to not mention how many, especially parents, are like, we need a bathroom in the playground. My
Which one?
excuse me, Ravenswood playground.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
I only
All
live a
right.
block away, but I can't imagine having to rush a 4 or 5 year old to the bathroom and probably not getting home successfully because of the bathroom, even though I live right there. So I can't imagine for other folks who don't live a block away how important a bathroom is.
Okay, good. Michelle, are you there?
Hello. Sure.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good to hear you. Okay, good. So Michelle
Okay.
also filled out her items, so if you could
Yeah.
go Michelle's items, that would be great.
Okay. I'll be really quick with mine because I honestly didn't change too much. I kind of just looked at, what was on the list from last year, what based off of the numbers file that was also shared, like was a standing request and like, and then I also looked at the number of like 301 complaints from that budget or from that like consultation document that was also shared. So mostly I kind of repeated stuff that I thought there was like decent evidence for. I think the only new one I added on expense would or yeah, which one are we on? On expense was just something about more funding for like arts and cultural programming in parks. Just because I know that was sort of mentioned. I feel like most of it is more like service related, specifically park, but weren't we trying to also add more like arts and cultural stuff. So, maybe if it could help fund like art installations or cultural festivals, things like that could be helpful just from a expense perspective. Everything else is like pretty much repeats from last year's list. On the capital side, again, kind of same thing. I was really just looking like which ones were high priority last year, still unfunded, decent amount of 301 support. On the capital side, the only new one I personally added was resodding more of the grass in Astoria Park. As I was walking around it often, I was like, honestly, all the grassy patches are just like weeds and dirt. But I'd noticed, the part that is closed off for the current renovation, I think they did redo the grass there, and I couldn't really find anything online about whether they specifically plan to redo grass elsewhere in the park. So I figured it was worth mentioning, like if all the lawns looked as good as the part that's like still fenced up, then it would be, really nice. So that's all I have.
What I would do on that one is maybe add on the south side of the park, because they may look at that and say, oh, we're already doing it, because they're saying that the.
Yeah, maybe specifically. I didn't know how to, because it's also, the little parts of grass like next to pathways and stuff that aren't just like a general lawn. So I was like, I'm sure we could find a way to make it more specific if other people agree. But for me, for now, I just put resodding like grass and lawns.
Okay, good. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Michelle? No? Okay, and mine. All right. Let me go to capital. Obviously, the number one for me is to finish the restoration of the Astoria Pool Complex. It's gone through 10 to 15 years of work, and what's needed now is a terrace, a locker room, and the electrical. So we're looking forward to creating that. And my number two was the dog park in Whitey Ford Field, which we obviously saw during the public hearing. There was a lot of support for. Number three was the skateboard park, which was already discussed. Number four is Steinway Playground, and that's basically a playground up towards, I think it's off of 20th Avenue there, or in that area up there, up in around Steinway. And that, I mean, it's basically just an asphalt area right now. It's public space. It's just not being utilized. It's like this wonderful empty palette that we could do a lot with. As a matter of fact, what am considering at some point is I talked to Evie about it, maybe we're going to have a field trip meeting to go up there and then get ideas as to what we think should be in there and let the Parks Department know. Queensbridge Baby Park, it doesn't need to be explained. The Rainy Park, renovate the comfort station. Ditmars Park, which is the park on again on Steinway Street to the west of Astoria Boulevard, that area down there that just needs improvements. Socrates, they need a lot of improvements in terms of drainage, the walkways, basically doing everything they can to rehabilitate. That's a highly used park, and it can use the same kind of upgrades that Rainy Park went through. Spirit PS 176. Now, this is a request of the Parks Department. Every year, myself and Florence go to meet with the Parks Department, and they give us a list of things that they would like to see us include in our capital and expense list. It's not required, but I do take whatever they say seriously, and I wanted to include that here. Ditmars Park was the same thing. That was one of their lists, and so was Rainy Park on the comfort station. So the PS 176 is the school next to the plaza at 21st Street and Broadway. There's a school there, and they in the back have a playground. Whitey Ford Field, there's a whole bunch of things that have to be done. And also a study at some point that to see whether a conversion to artificial turf may help with some of the drainage issues. They have large drainage problems down there. Okay, now there's two more here that I just added on just so that other people can look at them and decide whether they might be of interest. One is Wood Tree Playground, which is again up in the area close to Steinway, and that area where there's the Parks Department wants to do upgrades. And then I get a lot of calls from everybody. They all want pickleball courts everywhere. So basically, I put down the request to install pickleball courts wherever is feasible within the area.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so that's the capital. And on the expense side, let me go over here. Again, full-time park workers, as has been said before.
I
Now,
have a 3 week call.
okay, number two is we had a we actually had a proposal to do this. Parks does not agree with it, but again, like I said before, my philosophy is I don't necessarily like if I think it's better for the community, I'm not going to eliminate it because an agency says I should. I think that the diving pool area there would be perfect for a concession for an ice rink and winter market. You know, you have the all the bleachers and everything there. It's a good size. We actually did make a proposal, but it did not fly. But I still think it's a very, very important thing for the neighborhood. Sanitation services, as we know, that should be helped. Playground associates. Now, this is something that I really support a lot. Now, these are hirees of the recreation department. They're stationed in any playground that happens to have a restroom. And they're there to do games and to supervise kids. And they're just there as an adult entity that helps educate and provides a safe working space. So it's a great program, and I'd like to see it expanded. The PEP officers, again, that's security. The next one was a request of the Parks Department. They want these gator vehicles, which are like golf carts, and scissor lifts. This is for their maintenance requirements. Tree pruning. That's another big aspect of the Parks Department, the whole forestry side. And we'd like to see if they can, right now, I think the pruning is once every 7 years. I just think that that's not enough. And I think that with increased funding, it could be more often. Cultural, dance, music, and theater programs. Great idea. Accessibility. I talked about putting in a rollout platform or mat for accessibility in the Great Lawn. And lastly, additional lifeguards. So those are mine, okay? And I hope that everybody that did not fill this out can look at everything and, you know, spend a couple hours, put theirs together so we can work on it and submit our stuff to Amy. So does anybody have any questions? Can you hear me?
Richard, maybe you should also note to people if they like things that are on these lists that were already done,
Yeah.
they can put them in their own order. So if somebody's not creative and doesn't have their own contemplation for the parks, if you're sitting on the committee and you like Richard's number 1 and you like Kian's number 2 and you like what was the other young lady's name?
Michelle.
Michelle's number 3, you can use their list to make your own list.
That's why we're doing this. And that's why actually, if you know, I received last year's information in terms of the budget from last year. We sent everything to you. You have a list of the things that were done in previous years also. So I can resend those out. If you want me to, we will, but everybody does have a copy of all that stuff. Should I resend that stuff out?
Yes,
Okay.
please. Please.
Okay, we'll put it all together. I'll send it out tonight when this meeting's over. So
So we can make a vote. Sorry.
good. All right, and I do hope in the years to follow that we get started on this process in the springtime, and you start to do outreach when you go to the park. Ask people in the summertime, what do they like? What don't they like? What would they like to see? This is something that you should start to work on this next month for next year. you know, as we all are on the board because we represent different communities and different organizations or things like that. That's why we're appointed. So we're representing them. So reach out to them and try to get other people's ideas. Okay. Again, this is a very, very important part of the duties of a board member. So, you know, please take the time to follow up on this. So, does anybody have any questions? Okay, to go over everything at this point, and can you take this down now, Kian? Okay, great. Okay, so I think that from now on, from today, at this point, we put out the fresh market until November. We hope that the representatives of the fish market will check out these different sites that we explained to them. And, you know, we'll get the feedback from them and we'll see if we can get a presentation in November and make a final decision on what we want to support. Okay. And Florence is going to put together a letter for I'm missing a piece of paper here with my notes here. Florence is going to put together a letter for the baby park, the stipulations, the 2 stipulations we said. And then the third thing was having a senior moment here. The third thing was
there was the farmers market.
Farmers market. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm pulling up the agenda now. It was Queensbridge Baby Park proposal, Grow NYC, and then the tennis court.
Oh, the Grow NYC. Okay, yeah. Well, we said that. Okay, and the tennis court. That's the one where that was just information only at this point, and then we will hear back from them. We don't have to do anything. Okay. Any questions? Okay. Well, I look forward to getting these spreadsheet filled out in the next couple of days. And I'd like to give a special shout out to Ken for all the help he's given us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Okay. And okay. I'll see everybody see everybody at the next general meeting.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you very much, Harish Studios.